You place a small bet on the weekend football match, just to make things interesting. You tell yourself it is merely a harmless way to enhance the game. But exactly 3 weeks later, you find yourself staring at your phone in a dark room, heart racing over a meaningless corner, kick in a league you do not even follow. How did you end up here? Why did a simple weekend hobby morph into a relentless psychological obsession? You probably believe you are in control. You study the stats. You analyze the player injuries, the weather conditions, and the historical matchups with the precision of a Wall Street trader. You think your deep knowledge of the sport gives you a mathematical edge over the bookmakers. But what if your knowledge is exactly what the apps are weaponizing against you? To understand what is happening inside your skull, we have to look at a concept discovered by Harvard psychologist Dr. Ellen Langer. It is called the illusion of control. This is a cognitive bias where people firmly believe they have influence over events that are demonstrably dictated by pure chance. When you roll dice in a casino, you roll them harder if you want a high number, and softer if you want a low number. You know the physics do not work that way. Yet, your subconscious mind insists that your personal involvement somehow alters the fabric of probability. Football betting apps exploit this illusion flawlessly. They give you endless dashboards of data, heat maps, and possession statistics. They make you feel like an analyst. They trick your brain into confusing sports trivia with clairvoyance, masking the brutal reality that a perfectly predicted match can be ruined in a single second by a referee's whistle or a sudden slip on wet grass. Why do you keep coming back even when you lose? Let us reconstruct a scenario that happens to you all the time. You build a massive, multi-game accumulator bet. You need 5 different teams to win for a massive payout. The first 4 teams secure their victories with ease. The dopamine floods your system. You are a genius. You are untouchable. But then, in the final minute of the 5th game, the opposing team scores a lucky header, and your entire ticket collapses. You lost your money. You should feel discouraged. You should want to walk away. Why do you immediately open the app to deposit more funds instead? This exact phenomenon was studied extensively by psychologist Dr. R.L. Reed. He identified a devastating mental trap known as the near-miss effect. This is a psychological glitch where losing by a very tiny margin activates the exact same reward centers in your brain as actually winning. Your brain does not process the final goal as a failure. It processes it as proof that you almost had it, whispering a dangerous lie into your ear that success is guaranteed. The next time, the betting companies know this. This is why they heavily promote parlays and complex accumulators. They are artificially manufacturing near misses. They want you to lose, but they want you to lose by just one goal. Because that specific type of loss is mathematically proven to trigger a frantic urge to bet again immediately. But the rabbit hole goes much deeper than just near misses. Think about the structure of the betting itself. You place a wager. You wait. Sometimes you win a little. Sometimes you lose a lot. Sometimes you experience a massive, unexpected windfall that makes you feel like a god. This unpredictable sequence of wins and losses is not accidental. In the mid-20th century, a legendary behavioral psychologist named B.F. Skinner conducted a series of experiments using rats and pigeons in a laboratory. He placed them in boxes with a mechanical lever. When the animal pressed the lever, a food pellet would drop. But Skinner realized something terrifying when he altered the rules. If the food dropped every single time the lever was pressed, the animal eventually grew bored and stopped pressing it. But if the food dropped randomly, sometimes after 3 presses, sometimes after 10, sometimes not at all, the animal would enter a state of frantic obsession, pressing the lever until it physically collapsed from exhaustion. Skinner called this a variable ratio schedule. It is a system of unpredictable rewards, where you never know exactly when the payout is coming, which wires the mammalian brain for ultimate unbreakable addiction. Every time you open that betting app, you are the pigeon in the box. The glowing screen is your lever. The football matches are the random variables. Because you do not know which bet will finally hit the jackpot, your brain remains in a constant state of hyperarousal, flooding your synapses with dopamine not when you win, but purely from the anticipation of the bet itself. Eventually, this chemical hijacking begins to alter your fundamental perception of reality. Think back to how you used to watch football before you downloaded the app. You loved the game for its beauty. You felt pure joy when your team scored, and organic sadness when they lost. It was a communal, emotional experience. How does it feel to watch a game now? If you do not have money on the line, the match suddenly feels hollow. You cannot concentrate on the beautiful passes or the tactical formations. Your brain feels sluggish, starved of the extreme chemical spikes it has grown accustomed to. The sport itself has been reduced to a mere vehicle for dopamine delivery. You are no longer a football fan. You are an addict consuming a digital drug, and the athletes on the screen are just random number generators dictating your mood. And then comes the darkest phase of the psychological trap. The phase where the fun completely evaporates. You hit a losing streak, you lose $50 on Saturday, you lose another $100 on Sunday. A rational mind would accept the loss and stop the bleeding. But your brain is no longer operating on logic. You feel a tight, suffocating panic in your chest. You place a reckless, high-stakes bet on a Monday night game you know nothing about, desperately trying to win your original money back. This self-destructive spiral is driven by a powerful cognitive bias identified by Nobel Prize-winning psychologist Daniel Kahneman. It is known as loss aversion. Kahneman discovered that the psychological pain of losing something is mathematically twice as intense as the pleasure of gaining that exact same thing. Winning $50 makes you smile. Losing $50 feels like a genuine threat to your survival. To neutralize this intense psychological agony, your brain commands you to chase your losses. You abandon your careful strategies. You ignore the statistics you once worshipped. You throw good money after bad, entirely blinded by the primal urge to erase the emotional pain of the deficit. The bookies rely on this emotional breakdown. They build their empires on the graves of men who thought they could outsmart their own evolutionary programming. This is what daily football betting is actually doing to you. It is systematically dismantling your logic. It is hijacking your dopamine baseline. It is weaponizing your love of the sport against your financial future. The next time you pull out your phone to place a quick wager on match, pause for just 1 second. Look closely at the glowing screen, the colorful buttons, and the flashing odds. You place a small bet on the weekend football match.